to you live from the KU Betcha offices. I am Cindy, and today we have a breaking story coming in. Last week, as you heard, a water heater overtook a home. Today, Bibble Nation is back at it again. We have our reporter John out there right now. John, how's it looking?
It's looking pretty tragic. Looks like a lot of damages to unforeseen products such as carpet, heaters, and water. We couldn't find anything else on the scene as the apartment did melt to shreds. But as we continue to investigate, we found that an army of nematodes may have eaten all of the products in and outside of the complex. There's nothing to be seen, but we will say the hearts of all of those products are in our minds. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And welcome back to the podcast, everybody!
Yeah!
For those of you that are watching, you can tell that we're back to our normal setup now. We are not outside anymore. But welcome back. I am Christina. It's my brother Spencer. And we made this podcast to just kind of show that communication is key in all aspects of life. So sorry, guys. We're in the new setup. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. All of our social media. That is not the. I don't even know. Take 5. If there's anything that we talk about on here that you'd like us to talk about more, or anything that you don't hear us talk about that you want to hear our opinion on, you can always let us know on our social media, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can let us know in the comments below. We're also on Spotify now. So if you're driving to work and you're like, man, I can't really watch a YouTube video, you don't gotta worry. Just gotta pull up Spotify. You don't even have to pay for it. But yeah, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. We're not outside. We're not eating cabbage for dinner. And we're not rabbits. So yeah, everything's back to normal. And yeah, it's good. It's good to be back. It's a little bit different, as you can tell. We have a Christmas tree here now.
Well, we had the Christmas tree. It just wasn't decorated before. But
was it in the middle before?
It was back behind my chair.
Okay, see, yeah, I think that makes it better for the centerpiece as well, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll be keeping it up till June. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll be keeping it up all year long until we throw it out the window.
Yeah, there will be a video on that, too. It'll be a little side video. We will throw it out the window at some point. So, yeah, but it's nicely decorated. As you can tell, there is a star at the top.
Which is just an ornament because we don't have a star. We were actually talking about somebody, instead of saying twinkly, which are these lights that are back here, said Twinkie. And I was like, what if we put a Twinkie as the star on the top?
Twinkie as the star. It shines. It shines in every room. You go to a dance recital and you're like, oh man, like who's going to be the star of this competition? Not Twinkly. It's going to be Twinkie. Yeah, you can get them at the store too. $4.99. Go to your local Randall's. Thank you.
Not sponsored.
I feel like Randall's and all of the Krogers would not be sponsoring a video like this.
No.
They mostly sponsor stadiums, I think. Like Cedar Park, I think it's the HEB Center. Yeah. So, yeah.
I was just talking about the Twinkies, not Randall's.
You know y'all enjoy the Twinkies. But y'all shouldn't. It's very bad for you.
He says as he has 5 boxes of Twinkies in his bed.
I've been scarfing for the past 5 days. This is not true.
It's not true.
You know how I feel about food. We've already talked about it on the podcast. Keep that in mind. Twinkies, absolutely not. But Twinkies on top as a star, maybe.
This is actually our last video of this year.
I thought about that as well too.
Yeah.
I was, taking the shower. I was like, oh, we need to leave that out with the outro, like saying Happy New Year, and then fireworks inside the house.
Yeah, let's have maintenance come back up for the millionth time.
No, we don't need maintenance for this one. We'll be like, it's an unrelated popcorn fire, Your Honor.
Popcorn fire?
Yeah. If anybody gets the reference, you know.
I think it is.
It's Key and Peele.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well. Whoops. I like this little girl. I don't know if you guys can see her, but she's holding a guitar. And I just think she looks cool.
Yeah, they're all like handcrafted. I'm not sure exactly who had made them. Like my man over here giving out bills. He's giving out the invoices. He's like, hey man, you owe that $5,000.
Also, what's wrong with his pants?
I actually don't know. One of the strings, I guess they had to end it somewhere, but I don't know why it's not cut off. Weird.
Also, why does this one say Godchild Blessing 2023? Are you like a godfather to somebody's child?
I have no children. We also have a honey pot.
I said a godfather, not,
Okay.
not a father.
And also, why do we have Santa? This one you're not going to be able to see, but Santa's doing yoga.
We have this one twice.
Oh, do we?
He's on that side too. I think he's down at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, he is over here. These are all from Target as well, too, because this is just where we got all this stuff. Some of them I know. They even have the name for Target on there. Also, I just ripped you off the tree. Okay.
So come with me. Oh my goodness. I feel like this year, I guess to recap the year since it's the last video, it's been like, especially this past month, horrible. Like, not good. Like, I will say, like, this year definitely, like, taught me a lot, and I definitely feel like I'm going in a better direction than I was, like, last year. But there's just so much stuff this year that I'm like, why? Why did that have to happen? Like, this last month, like, our apartment, it getting flooded, and us basically, like, a whole week not even really being able to really live in it.
Yeah, I did not like how everything was set up, because like a disorganized place can be a disorganized mind, and that was annoying just seeing that all the time. But I wasn't as affected as you were by like how this was set up. Even though my stuff actually got damaged from the flooding, it didn't affect me as much. But I will say this end of the month, it's weird because the pacing has changed. It feels really fast some days and really slow other days.
I feel like it's really fast. Like, I feel like it was just the start of December, and now we're at the very end, and I'm like, how did we get here? Where's the time gone?
No, it went with the flood.
You said bye.
The flood of 2023. Always remember. The
2023 flood.
Yeah, they'll be like, what are you talking about? You never heard? The water heater blew up.
It did not blow up. It just started leaking. And then a pipe burst.
It burst, yeah, because that man pulled the handle and it said, hallelujah.
He said, I've been waiting for someone to pull me, and you were about to touch it too.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to mess with that specifically. I was showing you to show demonstrations of it. This is what you do for a Klondike bar.
What would you do for a Klondike bar? I would pull this lever.
And then it's just like it cuts to the scene where like a nuke is blowing up.
It just shows the tsunami coming in. You're like, oh no!
Like the scene from 2012. Oh no! Yeah, and then it gets into the boat, and yeah, it's tragic. But it has been. I don't know. To me, this year has felt like hard work, like crazy. Because I've had to do so much work. And it's not even just like the physical work. Like 100-hour work weeks every week. It did not matter. That was just like every week. Now, of course, I enjoy what I do. So that was a bonus to it. But like physically, mentally, and spiritually, like having to like watch myself as well too. Like being better mentally. But that is more of like the downside of this year is like, you know, having to actually focus on those things and like work on those things, because you set a goal each year. And I think if you aim towards something that's larger than yourself, it's going to require a lot of yourself to break down. So there was parts of the year where like, it's just really hard. And I'm like, man, like, can I get a break? But I just know I can't, because, you know, I tie in numerology with this, you know, it's my 4 personal year. And to calculate your 4 personal year for the audience, not 4 personal year, but your personal year for the audience, what you would do is you would add your month, your day, and then whatever the year is. And whatever number that adds up to correlates to your personal year, basically. It's what makes that. Now, each number can signify something, and you don't have to believe it either. But 4 is like hard work, law and order, that type of stuff. And I had some law dealing. I had speeding tickets this year that I had to deal with. So I had a little bit of that, but it was mainly hard work, because that's what 4s are for. Even life path 4s, they have to do that, whether you're born on the 4th or whether, you know, it adds up to that. That's at least my belief on it. I just watch it, and that's why I saw a lot of this year and what I wanted to make sure that I got done. And it makes me excited for next year, because next year is my 5, which is going to be traveling and potentially meeting in person as well too, because that's where it would fall under if that was the case. So I think those opportunities will sprout from it. But there were a lot of upsides to the year as well too. I think a lot of personal relationships grew like dramatically more than I was expecting. And that's where a lot of like the person's actions matter for what they do. Like giving in a manner. Like I think of like gift giving, like with the holidays, I always have it like to the individual. It's like it actually shows like the gift that you give to somebody, it shows how well you actually know the individual. Because if you had just given them something, it's like, oh, I don't know what to get them, and you're like, well, this is kind of expensive, like I'll just get them this. Or it's like, oh, they seem to like this. But it's like, did you actually like think about their gift, or was it more of like, oh, you needed to get it done? So I think everybody's like perception of like that is different. But I think the true part of giving is like when it's to the individual. It doesn't even have to be something that is like monetarily valued. Like one of the gifts that I'm giving to I call my second dad would be a letter, because that's what he wants. And I'm like, that has a lot of value into it, because it's my words, being presented to him. He gets to see the reflection of like, what he had done, as an individual, and getting that appreciation. So in a very small but beautiful way.
Yeah, I used to at Christmas, obviously as a kid, love gifts. I'm like, ooh, that's all I want, right? But as I've gotten older, like, I don't really care for like people getting me gifts anymore, but I really like giving them. Just because, I mean, like you said, when you give somebody like a personal gift, like one, it shows that you've actively been listening to them, when they talk about things. And it doesn't have to be something expensive. I mean, it can, like if it's like to the person. An example would be like our sister one year, I got her a camera. She's really into photography. Yeah, it was an expensive gift, but it was something that like she had really wanted. But yeah, I like gift giving. But I don't know, I feel like this year has been like for Christmas shopping and just the holiday time has been like so stressful. Like I feel like normally I try to get things done early because I don't like being a last minute shopper, but like I feel like this year I'm just like like I don't know what to get people, and like I just have been working a lot, so then I've been focusing on that, but I'm like, wait a minute, it's Christmas time, I have to like, it's just been like so much. Like I feel like I've been like really overwhelmed the month of December.
Yeah, as you said, very fast too. And I think like that the mind gets stuck in that speed as well too. There's like, oh, I got to get this, and this done. And you can think like, oh, maybe that actually slows down stuff because you have a lot more tasks. I think if you're not as present like in that, because so much is going on, there's so much chaos, it seems like everything moves forward. Like when you're enjoying time in a manner, it can be fast too. Like if you're always spending time with friends and stuff, it seems like the days and hours and years just pass by very fast. But I think when there's that balance between both of that, like I feel like everybody knows this who has worked a job. There will be your slow days and then your fast days. And each person has their own type of feel. Like it could be a slow day at the restaurant, but somebody would be like, oh yeah, it felt like today went really fast because they were doing things in a manner that was like engaging them, but not like where they were engaging too much in, I guess, just empty thoughts. Like you're just, I don't know, thinking about, you could say almost nothing. You're not thinking nothing, but like it almost seems like that. It's like you keep thinking about time itself, I would say. And then you look at the clock and you're like, oh my gosh, this much time passed. And I correlate that to like when I took my trip to Colorado, like the drive there felt way longer, and it's because a lot of my thoughts were coming up that I was dealing with, and it felt like time was going slower in that manner because I was processing that stuff. But on the way back, I felt like complete, and I was like listening to different things, and it just felt like very smooth, and it was like definitely faster than the way there. Now, you've talked about this too. It always feels a lot faster on the way back. But I think about like building and stuff. Like some people will say, oh, like putting it together is easy, taking it apart is hard. But you would hear vice versa. It just depends on the person, because that's almost like the building and destroying principle. Like, taking something apart might be easy to somebody, but then putting it back together will be easier than the other. And that will tell you who's the builder and destroyer in that case, what's easier for them. It's almost like a tactic that you should use like in a hiring process, kind of like the 16 personalities test, but in a different manner. Like, give them something that, you know, you tell them to do. Give them a little task, like, you know, break down this computer. Now, of course, you want to be in like IT. It needs to be useful for the task. It can't be something that's like...
Oh, you didn't mean it like a hammer? Like, ding, ding, ding?
No, not like that. Because that would be too easy. But take apart a computer and then put it back together is what will happen afterwards. And it's like you see where they're better at with that. And I think that could be a, you know, factor in the hiring process. Now, of course, that's IT related. Let's go to something like retail. It's like, okay, we're going to take all these clothes off the rack, but then you need to organize it afterwards. That's what you're going to do. It's like
let's
resets.
Go.
It's resets, as you would call them at Walgreens. So that type of style, I think that building and destroying aspect is a good like tool to use in the hiring process, as well as the 16 personalities test, because it tells you what type of individual they are. Now, they might not be answering truthfully either, so it'll be kind of hard to tell, but of course, emphasize that to them when they're in the hiring process, because they're already stressed, so they're like, okay, let me at least do this for them, and that will give them an, I guess, direction of the hiring.
I feel like in like the hiring process, and I've talked to like previous bosses about this, I'm like, anyone can interview well. That does not mean that they're going to be a good employee. Like, because, I mean, you think about an interview, it's just like questions, like you can go on like TikTok or YouTube and somebody already has all the questions. Like, okay, well, this would be your answer for it. You know what I mean? It's, again, back to like the memorization thing. If you can memorize a really good answer, then, I mean, anyone can sound good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be good at the job, you know? It's like they could be good on paper, but, you know, not in person. And that was the thing that I tried to emphasize to my boss, because, like, he would interview people, and, like, I would sit in on some of the interviews, and he'd be like, oh, like, I think this person, like, did really well. And I would be like, well, like, anyone can do well. And then, you know, like, a couple months later, that employee's not doing very well. Like, they're not, you know, showing that they're actually putting in the work. And it's like, see, anyone can interview well.
Yeah, and it's always hard to test that process, and I think that's why they have like a period of time that they kind of look over the employee and decide what they want to do with it. Not every company, though. Some of them are just desperate for people.
I think there is in every company, though. There's like a 90-day, and if like after like the 90 days you're still not doing well, like they'll sit down and talk with you, or they'll be like, hey, like it's not working out. I want to say that's most companies. I don't know if it's all. But I think most companies that's, and then you have like your temporary people that get hired on. Like at Walgreens, we had that where like, you know, they were only temporary like for a few months, which we'd normally do like in the summer. But then like after that period is over, then, you know, my boss would have to decide, okay, were they good enough to keep, or are we just going to let them go? So I guess it just depends what they get hired on as. But I think everybody, if you're not temporary, you still have a 90-day like period where they can be like, hey, yeah, no, we're not going to keep you. Yeah,
it's just, does the company actually follow that?
Yeah.
And they have their own like sets of rules as well too with that, or they have their own, you could call it playbook that they have. They're like, okay, this person works out. But I just think there are companies that are desperate for people, so none of that matters. Like you take somewhere like Walmart or McDonald's. They're not going to look at too much of your credentials to find out, you know, if you're fit for the job or not. They just want to see if you're going to perform or not do anything there. And of course, the first 2 weeks could go well, but they'll probably just keep you after that because they just don't care. They want somebody in that position. They need to fill that position. That's why it can be easy to get into certain jobs, because if they're that desperate for people, you can have no experience and then be like, all right, as long as you're willing to learn.
Yeah, I feel like, especially for a place like Walmart, I feel like they really don't care who they hire. Like, I worked at Walmart for like 10 months, and like, you could honestly like, just walk around the whole store. Like, as long as you weren't a cashier, like, if you were, like, supposed to be stocking the shelves, like, you could honestly, like, walk around that store for your whole shift, and you would get paid for it. Like, there was, like, some departments where you didn't really have someone, like, watching over you. Or, like, the department I was in, which was the shoe department, like, there are some days where, like, there's nothing to do. Like, we finished our shipment, there's nothing else we can get out on the shelf, we looked at our on-hands, like, we threw away people's crusty shoes that they left. Like, people would really do that, though. Like, they would, like, take their crusty shoes off, and they would, like, hang them up where, like, the new shoes that they took would be. Be like, are you freaking kidding me? Your nasty shoes. Couldn't you at least, like, throw them away or something? But, yeah, no, I mean, you could really, like, walk around and, like, do whatever.
Now, did anybody try to buy those crusty pair of shoes?
I feel like most people would know.
But did you take them home?
Ew, no.
Why not?
They always smelled so bad. And they always were just, like, the dirtiest shoes ever. I mean, I guess that's why they were, like, looking for new shoes. But, like, throw them away. Like, I don't even care if you're stealing at this point. Just throw your crusty shoes away. I don't want to have to pick those up.
I'd probably pick them up and use them as hand shoes.
That's because your shoes stink, so you're used to that.
You gotta blend in with the crowd. You gotta be a part of the kind. Thank you, people. If you got those crusty shoes out there, you know where to send them.
You just have a P.O. box on the screen.
And then there's just everybody sends it in. They're like, hey man, you want to get rid of those shoes? We got a better place than Goodwill. And then it's just me, like, laying in the pile of shoes, like Squidward when he's on top of the Krabby Patties.
I don't even think Goodwill would take those. I heard somebody saying, like, Goodwill will get rid of stuff if it's, like, they're like, no, this is gross.
That's true. They won't even accept it. It also depends on, like, the thrift store, too. Some of them are, like, kind of bougie about it. They're like, that doesn't fit our criteria.
There's this one place, I don't remember, maybe it's Mia's Closet or something like that, but you can, like, sell stuff to them. And if they don't think it's good enough, they won't give you money for it.
Thrift shops, you can do the same thing. You could walk in. There's one off of East 7th. Something Treasures or something. You could do that same thing. You can bring something in and be like, how much will you take for it?
I brought in a, like, Coach purse, which, I mean, I guess Coach is technically, like, the low end when it comes to, like, high-end designer brands. But mind you, I paid probably, like, closer to $200 for this bag. And I went to, I want to say it's Mia's Closet, but I could be wrong. It could be something else.
It sounds familiar.
But I went in there, and they only gave me, like, $10 for it. And I'm like, I paid, like, almost $200.
Yeah, that's pawn shops for you right there, too.
I mean, it was, like, an older bag. Like, it wasn't like it was, like, brand new, but it wasn't, like, worn out or dirty. Like, it looked brand new. Like, it hadn't really been used. But they were like, yeah, no, we'll give you $10.
That's what I would go to, like, eBay or something to, like, sell that. Or even Facebook, because you could get somebody, like, yeah, you'll get definitely more than $10. You'll probably get, like, 30, 40, but that's definitely better than what you're getting. That's 3 times your return.
Yeah, I mean, I took it because I was like, I just don't want this bag anymore, so whatever. Yeah. But
you can also negotiate.
I feel like they...
You just pull out your Glock and be like, hey, some more money in the bag.
You're like, wait, I want the bag and the money.
Yep.
That's a robbery.
That's not a robbery. That's a negotiation.
The police come and they're like, we heard there's a robbery. No. You heard wrong. It's a negotiation.
Yeah, this gun is used to negotiate. And they don't have a sign outside that says that I can't carry my weapon in here. And I haven't pointed it at them yet.
Police officer's like, you just pointed at me.
Sorry, you're in the line. Whoa, okay. Wait, who shot? The police officer?
The police officer just shot you. Nice. Why did that remind me of Ken from Barbie? You haven't seen it. I have the movie, by the way. You should watch it. But,
I threw it in the trash.
No, you didn't.
Watch it be digital. It's like, you can't throw it in the trash. And it's like, watch me. And then it just shows me dragging to the recycling bin.
And then it says, can't put in the recycling bin.
Sorry, this one can't be recycled.
And it actually pops up on the screen and starts playing, and you're trying to turn it off, and it's like, no.
And it's not allowing me. But then somehow I find the landfill trash inside the computer, and I'm like, throw it.
Like Wall-E with the little people that are like, nee.
I'll create a Wall-E on there to do it.
It's like, I got it, don't worry.
Yeah, I feel like you can turn... No, you definitely can. You can turn your mouse cursor into Wall-E and then just have him do that.
Probably. I love Wall-E. I think that's probably my favorite Disney movie.
Is it? What about your favorite Christmas movie? Wall-E. There was Christmas lights.
That is true. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the Christmas movies I've seen are like the Hallmark ones where it's like so stupid.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Okay, you're not on TikTok, so you haven't seen the videos, but there is just a Hallmark movie where the guy, like, you know, obviously small town girl, or I'm sorry, big city girl comes back to small town to, like, you know, see her family or whatever, but then this disaster happens and she's like, oh my God, I have to stay and fix it. But then obviously she finds this man there and she's like, oh my God. This is like basically every Hallmark Christmas movie ever. Like, it's the same premise. But the guy came up to the girl and he goes, he's like, you're not coming to the Lights Festival cookie bake-off crown wearing bejeweled staring contest. It was something crazy. It wasn't that exactly, but it was something like so long and outrageous. You were like, I'm sorry, the what? And she's like, oh no, I didn't know you guys are holding that here.
I would love to come.
And then she just says the whole thing again. I'll have to show you the video because it's so funny. But I feel like that's every Hallmark Christmas movie. Like, I feel like it's the same thing, just like different names.
Yeah, there's always like a central theme. I always feel like they try to end the movie all nice and cheery because, I mean, that would be Christmas related. They don't want to have some like, yeah, and then they all died. And then it ended up like that. I don't think that's going to happen. Because then you would get like the children's spirit down. Especially if it's like a children's movie. Now, if it's not and it's an adult film, I just think all of them would have to be like that. Like, your comedy movies are all going to have... They're going to have a mix of drama. They're going to have a mix of comedy. They're going to have a mix of, oh, I don't want to be with you anymore. Oh, I do want to be with you at the end. It's always something like that when it comes to movies. But I think that's how people kind of depict their lives too, is that aspect of it. And it's not always that, and I feel like that's why individuals can get sad and get like attached to those movies. But you wouldn't have a favorite Christmas movie though.
Probably not. Maybe Home Alone.
Yeah.
Poor little kid.
What about the Polar Express?
For like 3 movies. No.
Why not? You don't like trains?
I didn't say that. I can't even remember if I've watched the Polar Express all the way through.
What about Pocahontas?
That is not a Christmas movie. That's
a Valentine's Day movie. I know.
No, it's not. It's just a regular Disney movie.
They just categorize it all randomly one day. You get on Netflix. They're like, oh, let me look at romantic.
It's not on Netflix. It's on
let's just
Disney.
say hypothetically, look up romantic comedies, and all you see is Saw 2.
You're like, okay, and then you're traumatized.
And then you're like, wow, that was romantic. I loved how his leg was chopped off.
I love how they're getting tortured and they have to like kill each other to make it out.
And then all of a sudden, like you're sitting with your partner, and you're like, oh man, this is cool. Let's just get some popcorn. And then they're just enjoying that, and they're like, and then afterwards they talk about it like after the movie's over. They're like, would you be able to cut off my leg?
Oh my god.
Okay, this would not happen. Okay, this is not a thing, but that would be interesting on there if you just miscategorized everything and see what like the reaction is. You would just have people be like, I can't believe you put this in this area. The Polar Express is not a romantic comedy.
I mean, that wouldn't be like horrible versus if they put the Polar Express in like horror.
Yeah, but when
like,
you go in there,
it.
You're expecting that, and then all you see is this train that goes off the rails and this little kid that's, you know, try to be the caboose of the train and then does a backflip off of the Empire State Building. That's not what happens. You felt like it was, though.
I really don't remember the Polar Express. So I couldn't tell you what it's about.
I can't say entirely. There's copyright strikes. I'm just kidding. I don't think there would be.
They're like, you can't talk about the movie.
If you talk about it at all, you will be banned in Knockerton Alley.
They're like, if you even say one line from the movie and all you say is I, and they're like, copyright.
You will be shot if you shoot like 3 lines out. Okay, you're just like, I'm a little boy. Bang! All of a sudden, just out of nowhere, attack helicopter gets through.
Attack helicopter. Oh my gosh, that reminds me. So I made this TikTok video, right? For those of you that have seen my TikTok, I made a video talking about how I was making TikToks and I heard a plane, and you know, we live by an airport, so it's not concerning, but it was getting louder. Like, I thought it was going to crash into our apartment building. That's how loud it was.
Oh, it was probably a jet.
And I couldn't, like, I was just, like, frozen. I was sitting on the ground frozen. I couldn't even get up to look at my window to see. Because I was like, this is it. Like, I'm going to die. And then I finally was able to get up, and it was one of those jets that you see on, like, Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are they doing out here?
Okay, I actually saw them that day, too. It was so loud. Like, where I was driving at, it was, like, rattling the buildings around me. And then all I hear in the corner is, hey, man, put down the beans and salad. No, none of that was said.
Dang. But anyway, so I made a TikTok video about how I was like terrified, and I was like, you know, after it happened, I looked out the window and saw it wasn't coming towards the building. I was like, realistically, if one was coming towards the building, I wouldn't have enough time to check out the window, see it was coming towards me, get out of my apartment, and make it far enough away to where the building or the plane wouldn't hit me. Right? So I just made a video about that, right? I got so many hate comments on that video. And I'm just like, all I said was that I was terrified of a noise because I thought it was a plane coming towards the building. But there's people like, that's an unrealistic fear. Like, why would you have a fear of that? And I'm like, I don't have a fear of planes. I'm just saying, if it was to happen, I wouldn't make it out of here alive.
Yeah,
People
I know.
were so upset about that.
I knew exactly what it was. They were 9/11 enthusiasts.
And then there was someone, of course, I'm sure I do it on the podcast. Probably not as much on here, but I do it on my TikTok a lot, where I say the word like too much.
Yeah,
somebody commented about that. Their comment was like, oh my god, a plane was like coming, like, oh my god, like, that was their comment. I was like, wow, so original. But I just don't, like, even as like a kid growing up, like, obviously when we were teenagers, we got like, you know, phones and introduced to like social media. But I've never once commented a mean comment on anybody's thing. If I don't like something, I just unfollow or I stop looking at it. Like, there's no point in me wasting my time and energy, like, hating on someone that I don't even know for, like, no reason. And I was going to take the video down because I was like, man, like, all of these people really hate this video. And I thought it was such a stupid video. Like, it was so meaningless. And I'm like, why do people hate this so much? But then I went onto my For You page, and the very first video that I saw was a girl that was like, do not take things personal. She was like, if people comment mean things, it has nothing to do with you. Like, they are obviously insecure. You have something that they clearly don't have, so they feel the need to tear you down. And like, after watching that video, I was like, okay. I'm not gonna take the video down. But I don't know, it's so baffling to me that like people really like waste time out of their day to like hate on somebody that they don't even know just because they posted something they didn't like, instead of just like scrolling past or like, you know, unfollowing if they were following them. I don't know. I
think there's actually something that's good within that though, because it expresses repressed feelings that they have. Because ultimately that is what it comes down to, something that happened within their childhood or just how they're perceiving that day, because they might not be having a good day. But I mean, if they do it continuously, I mean, they ultimately are the ones that feel the repercussions of it, because when you push out hate instead of love, that deteriorates the being in most cases, because that's not something that should be used unless it's necessary, like something like this person died and this person's actually making fun of them, like, oh yeah, this person died, ha ha ha, like the mean and hateful stuff. Like, you know, you got to also defend in some sort of manner, but I don't think you should ever back out of like all of that happening. Like, if we were to just get a ton of comments that were rude about something, I think there's a lot to actually learn from that too. It's like, okay, they said this, is there truth to it? And it's like, okay, there might be a little bit of truth to it, but it's like, where did they come from a place of to be able to put that as well too? And are you able to joke about it? Because if you take something too seriously, that will start affecting you. And because you might think it's the greatest work piece of all, and then have everybody say, yeah, that's the worst thing you've ever created in your life. And some people might even think about that about the podcast too. It's like, what is the point of y'all actually talking and this doing? And again, we have our own missions and goals to it, and there could be other people doing the exact same thing, but everybody has their own sense of being and that authenticity that you can bring to the table, and that's what they're going to try to take away, because they want you to be like them, where you don't have things and you should hate the world and not want that. But then you also get the positive ones too, but it's always going to be the negative ones that are going to overtake those positives. You can have 100 positive and 1 negative, and you're going to focus on that negative. And it's because as beings, we want to be better, but also, judgment is something that can happen. And that's what falls under the 16 personalities too. You can be the J, which is judgment, or the P, which I don't remember what it stands for. I'm assuming it's passive or basically non-judgmental, because they're opposites. But I think having to deal with that is where, when you go into conversations with people, you start to understand the engagement of what they mean by certain things and how they're trying to portray it, because it could be coming from a place of just projecting it onto you instead of actually from a place where it's you need to work on that.
I just feel like there's a difference between hate and constructive criticism. I don't mind people being hey, I didn't really like this thing, and actually giving you genuine feedback on something. But when it's just oh, you suck, or a comment making fun of the fact that I say too much, it's not productive at all. What?
Yeah, well, it is productive because it actually tests you. It tests you and your reaction to it, because that's ultimately what matters, is how you react to that thing. Because if you get to the stage, and this is where somebody who has anger issues would just be yeah, I'm gonna hurt him. And then you try to go into all this depth of researching where they live and stuff like that. And it's okay, they said this one thing and it triggered you to that point. That's where it's okay, maybe you should watch yourself on how you react to that. Because ultimately, I think the higher that you move up the hierarchy of fame, let's say, that's more and more that's going to happen. You're going to have people that put more and more of those negative things. And they've been able to filter those out, on YouTube and stuff, because when we put out the videos, it's it automatically holds potentially harmful comments to them, which I'm wondering if we opened it up full circle, what it would actually be oh, your hairline's faded. No. But it would be interesting, because I think it's productive in a manner too, getting that, even if it's just hate, it can be productive in some sort of manner. Of course, you need a balance. There should be love given, but there's always going to be that hate too, because you can't just have goodness in this world. You have to have evil, because you can't learn from anything if everything was good, because you can't get any better without having to go down and have something be very bad. Like what you were talking about this year, it was bad in a manner, but it was good because you were able to constructively build, yourself and different relationships and just things moving forward. And without that aspect of hate, you can't really get that, or people that are negative. You have to have that balance, because you won't always be somebody who's positive either. You're gonna have times where it seems like everything's falling apart and you're just maybe I should hate life. Maybe I should just, leave and just get rid of myself, basically. But that's never the answer. The answer is what do you do in that situation? What is your reaction in that? Who do you have around you? And are you able to pull yourself out of that thing? Because that's ultimately what's going to bring you so much more in this life. But if you get so lost in, that hateful thing, you'll always be that thing that they're telling you. And that's the unfortunate part. And that's where somebody can't grow from it. Both the person who said it and you. Because ultimately, I had this happen too, very self-conscious about my hair, because I was losing it so much. I'd wear a beanie, I'd wear hats, which made it worse. And I'm just well, if I don't accept that, which is me, if I don't accept that part of me, then what am I to do then? Am I just always going to be in this scenario like somebody makes fun of it, I shut down, or I get angry, or I just get overly emotional? And it's like, no, the best thing to do is just laugh about it and also joke about it as well too, because it's like, yeah, you say like all the time, but that's a part of how you are, and that's a part of your personality that you've created. And it has shown onto me because I'll say like as well too. I've noticed that within conversations is that's more prominent because the things that you are around will display that. But it's useful to have that constructive criticism, even if that is just pure hate, because you get to decide what the outcome of that is, especially if you're the one who's presenting and being vulnerable with putting out these videos, because you get to ultimately be you. And that's the beautiful part about it. Like, that's why, like, being wacky in the way that we are that's what makes it an authentic podcast. And that's why next year I think a lot of it's going to really grow, because I think more people will start to see that, because the more that you become you, the more that people are attracted to you.
No, I definitely think it's going to be a good next year for the podcast for sure. Obviously, we just started it, like 2 months ago now?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely feel like next year will be better. Our setup's going to get better. Hopefully have some guests on here.
No, we will have guests on here.
Yeah, we have a third chair, but we have no guests right now. We just have Jeannie B. Jones with her guitar right here.
Yeah, she chilling.
She's chilling with I was a skater boy. I said see you later boy. Oh no, he fell off.
Skater, he's a snowboarder, and I was thinking that was Juan Pablo Montoya.
Oh, wait.
They're just random strings, because the other one also has that on his pants too.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me put that there so I don't put it on the floor instead of throwing it in the trash.
Yeah.
Which is what we need to do with all your stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff.
If an interior designer came in here, you would get the two extremes. Because if you go to my room, there's nothing in there.
There's like perfectionism.
No, there's just like nothing in there. Like, it's very boring and bland.
Well, no, it's because it's very organized in that manner. That's why when you have a little bit of sloppiness with what I have, where I have like tank tops, but then I have dress shirts, and then I have casual shirts that don't match with anything that I wear. Yeah, that's what you end up with. But that is just the style that I have. Like, how each person lives their life is going to be like that, as we had just talked about. Like, we literally have a Cadillac converter in the living room.
Is that what that is?
That's the muffler, but there is a cat. I think it's in the white box.
Why do you have those?
Because I have to replace it on my car. So
okay.
That's why they're in here, because they would go outside. It's just that hasn't been organized ever since the flood of 2023.
But I feel like if an interior designer came into your area, they'd be like, there's just a lot of stuff over here. Like, I feel like it's the two extremes with our areas.
Yeah, but that's good, because it helps balance it out too. Like, I'm a little less cleanly than you are, but you keep the things clean around here while I'm running around doing all these different things. It's like a balance of like how we do things, basically. And I think that's what works out. And that's where, again, that love and hate thing can balance out as well too. Because although we may not know it entirely, I've seen it from relationships, that intimacy is like that. You're like, man, I hate this person. I don't want to be around him. And you hear a lot of older couples like talk about that once that have been 10 plus years. Like, I would just tell my wife about that. Or Dorothy would be like, yeah, you can just tell my husband about that. He don't really care anyway. It's just stuff like that, because like being around somebody so long, it's like you feel like you know them so much, so it's not much change is happening, and that can be exciting for somebody, but you can't be eating dessert all the time, because that will just make you sick.
I love eating cake in the bathroom.
I feel like you just read a like third grade thing that you're supposed to write down in cursive.
I still cannot do I can only do my name in cursive, but I can't write in cursive. I wasn't like we didn't. it wasn't
I was
long
taught. I
enough.
was taught in second grade how to do cursive. There are certain capital letters that I can't do, but I can do most of like lowercase letters. Like I could probably write a whole letter, which I was actually wondering because for his letter, I'm like, does he know cursive? And my handwriting's already bad, but
I would not put it in cursive because your handwriting is horrible.
no, but it's better in cursive. That's the thing. Because I literally, we would just write so many E's and so many S's in cursive because we just practiced it for so long. It's actually my better form of handwriting. Now, if we're talking about like, we're taking notes and I'm at the science lab and my hair's on fire, yeah, we're going quick.
Why is your hair on
Because
fire?
I drank some of the atom bomb fluid, but my intelligence decreased, but my strength increased. So when I had to fight a rad roach, I can win with my unarmed fist.
Wait, why are you not winning against a rad roach?
It's a
Those
king-
are like the lowest level.
It's the king rad roach, which
so
doesn't even
insane.
exist.
Now it's gonna be on the new game.
Yeah, they're going to take that form, which is funny. Okay, this is very interesting. So GTA 6 released one of the cover for it. And there's a picture of somebody on there that looks exactly like the GG33 individual who talks about numerology and stuff. It looks just like him. And I'm like, interesting that they chose him as the individual on that cover, because what they might do is the tarnishing of reputation. Because they can take somebody and have that character built in, and they're like, yeah, it looks a lot like him. And then they'll try to put attributes that are similar to that person to be like, okay, this is their character as an avatar, but this is actually truly who they are, is what they might imply to people. And if you're in that game world for so long, I feel like somebody might actually take that seriously and be like, yeah, this is exactly what he's like. And it could be a bad character. I don't know. I just saw a picture of it. A friend had sent it, and I was like, that's crazy. It looks just like him on the GTA cover.
What are people talking about it though? Like, do people know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's a fairly known person. Like, he's talked to, he was actually invited to the White House personally by Donald Trump. So he's a known figure, just not known to a lot of people because, I mean, he was banned during the whole banning of people on Twitter. He was banned like 18 times.
God dang, what is he doing on Twitter?
Well, it's not anything large. It's just that during that time, you spoke anything related to like vaccine purposes or anything that was like just largely against the agenda that they had. They just shut you out. And then now that aspect is coming back. It's like taking away like the First Amendment practically of free speech because it just wasn't that anymore. It started dissipating, and he fell under that category just because about what he talked about during that time. Because he kept urging people not to take the vaccine, and they're like, nope, not with our agenda. And I mean, there were doctors that during that time that were saying similar things, just not all the doctors that were mainstream, not the ones that they wanted to say because they had their own thing to push. Again, everybody has their own sense of what they want to do. But that determining what is good or bad about it, you can't really tell until like the action is taken. So that goes with anything. That was just the scenario that I think is just really bad, like shunning somebody out just because they have their own views about something. I mean, that's social media. That's taking away the social aspect about it if you can't talk about something. And that's ultimately what this is for, like communication, because everybody can learn from it and everybody can build from it. And all it takes is that person who's willing to make that difference, because it does start with you. But what it also takes is all these other factors that seem so complex because they have so many different spider webs of attachment. It's like a very large family tree that's ever ending. Yeah.
A family tree of spiders?
However you want to take it. I remember when I walked into the dungeon in Minecraft, they were there.
I was actually thinking about Zelda. You remember the tree you had to go in with the big spider?
Oh yeah, where they would be on the walls.
Beginning of the game.
Yeah, those were annoying because it would and you're like, where is it?
Like, he's coming for me. The worst part is when you went to like the other side and it was nighttime and those like zombie like skeleton things would try
Oh
to
yeah,
get
those
you.
were annoying in that game. The game that was the one where the bomb was going to explode with the moon. Did not like that one because I didn't know how to pass it. And then I was like, time's running out. Oh my God, the moon's going to explode. Because that was what happened in the game. The moon explodes if you don't complete it and you actually die, and then you have to start the game over.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, that was the one I played. It's because it was a scary game at that time. I'm like, no, I can't do this right now. This is too much.
It's so funny to like look back on things that like you're so scared of as a kid. Like that Zelda level with the spiders, that scared me. I was like, I'm never gonna complete it. But like looking back at it now, not only are the graphics awful, but,
They're gorgeous.
No, they're
I use that as my video quality at my wedding. Just those spiders moving.
Why do you have a video of the Zelda spiders at your wedding?
And it's like, and then I play the Friends themes everywhere you look.
Like, I think there's something wrong with this
And then
guy.
it's like me photoshopped next to the spiders, and I'm like,
Are you marrying yourself or a spider?
no, I was marrying the spider.
Oh.
Her name is Lady Flooflaw.
Lady Floopla.
Yeah, that's the spider's name.
Oh, what if I accidentally stepped on her earlier?
Yeah, she's too big. She's about the size of this table. They have that in Australia.
I've been seeing videos about that. People are like, yeah, if you come to Australia, just know that this is a thing here. These big spiders.
That they get married.
No, not that they're marrying
No, they get
spiders. There's big spiders on the wall.
That's where I planned to have my wedding.
I feel like there's so many like bugs and creatures in Australia. Like if you stayed there, you'd be like, yeah, I'm out, guys.
We'll send you to the Amazon next week and see if you can tell the difference.
I would be terrified. I don't even like the freaking little like.
Yeah, I know. You're scared of every single bug.
Yeah.
June bugs come in. Oh my God, it's a tarantula. It's a flying tarantula.
Oh my God, it's June bugs and it's not June. Get out.
Get out. The world's ending. 2012 all over again.
I remember being in middle school and there'd be like, oh yeah, the world's gonna end. And like the next day we came into school and we're like, it didn't end though. What happened?
And then all of a sudden a nuke comes off at the school because somebody needed it to end. They're like, no, it's supposed to end. I am a Mayan.
Did you see somebody said that they introduced a new zodiac?
What?
Yeah.
What is it?
I don't know what it's called.
Oh, let's look this one up. I'm curious.
Yeah, they were like, because a bunch of people were like, I'm not changing my zodiac sign for this. Like, this is so stupid. But apparently they introduced like a new planet or something.
What? Ophiuchus?
Yeah, Ophiuchus, I guess, is one of the 13 constellations.
How is this already on Wikipedia?
The 13th sign.
Wait, from November 30th to December 17th? What did they get rid of? There was one in November.
Yeah, I know, which means they moved one of them.
Wait, is it Scorpio? They got rid of Scorpio.
No, Scorpio should still be in there.
Okay, what is this?
It's
Get
just
off my screen.
The dates are moved.
Configuration.
You should have just pressed accept.
Wait, did you see? What is this? Why is there so many things?
Press X. Go to the top.
Disagree
and
to
press X.
all. No, because then they're gonna. If I press X, that means they're gonna accept it, and then they're gonna take all my cookies from the cookie jar.
What are you, the Cookie Monster?
Ophiuchus and Cetus? What are these?
Will there be 2 new zodiac signs? 2?
In 2024? Who is validating this, by the way? Are we just making these up now?
Okay, it says, what is the origin of it? It's located between Scorpio and Sagittarius, and its origin dates back to Greek mythology as being related to Apollo's son.
Weird.
A physician with gifts of healing. Ooh.
That's weird.
So potential zodiac
Whoa.
signs. So now what are you?
Wow. That lasts 2 days? You're okay, if you fall under there, it's 2 days. Oh yeah, Scorpio is still there.
Yeah.
Oh, they changed Sagittarius. Wait, I'm a bit confused.
See, because I'm...
Oh, they moved Capricorn. Capricorn usually starts earlier, but they moved the date.
Everything is early. Like, I'm not a Gemini anymore. I'm now a Taurus.
Wait, what the? Yeah, no. Why am I back in just pure Aries now? Dude, okay, also, who decides?
Also, why is it like why is one sign just 2 days? How does that make any sense? Like, the other one, Ophiuchus or whatever, that makes sense. Like, it's for a bit of a longer time. But that other one, Cetus, whatever it is, 2 days. Why is he there for 2 days? Get out.
I wonder like what the meaning of that is. I will say in March, based off of what GG33 has talked about, that March is actually a crazy month in terms of that. I think it has something to do with like the solstices as well too. There's a little bit of Western astrology used in there,
Mercury's in retrograde.
That too. They talk about that all the time. Mercury's in retrograde. Everybody hide your parrots.
Mercury's about to do the renegade. Hurry up and get to the dance floor.
It would be something like that. It's like something outrageous that they try to like plant with it. And that's where it's like, if you're so focused on that all the time, I think that's just distracting. I feel like you should just, there's other things to focus on than that. It's like, yep, my car died, Mercury retrograde, fix it. Like, what?
I see people like that like all the time on TikTok. That's the only thing they do is talk about, Mercury's in retrograde or Sagittarius is, well, I don't even know what Sagittarius is in, but Sagittarius is in the planet.
It's in the moon. They'll talk about moons too, like it will be in a specific moon, like fire moons is what they talk about. And this stuff, it's not that it's not important. It's just when it's brought up and the context that they use it in, I just think it can become annoying at some point to some individuals. And this is where you're like, take a step back, unfollow that and just not deal with it basically. But I just think that a lot of it you can get lost in it. It's kind of like when a psychologist is like kind of telling you what your life is like. That's not an answer to the problem. It's a tool to it. It's like, okay, they're giving me this perspective, but I need to create my own perspective out of it. And I think it's the same thing with that. And people monetize this stuff as well too with it, because they'll be like, I'll give you readings and I'll give you tarot cards and this is what your life is going to be like. And it could be useful to individuals who literally are like broken down and need a new way of life and want that change. Like, it's not against that necessarily. It's just coming to your own conclusions is also an important thing too, because if you always have somebody telling you how to do something, aren't you forever a child at that point? Because you're always listening to somebody instead of, showing. It's like the balance between a teacher and a student. Like, you can teach at times, but you also have to be a student too, because you're learning from somebody.
I just feel like it's more of a belief for people. Like they like believe it. I mean, some people take it too far where like that's their whole life, but I mean, for the people that believe it, like they just kind of use it as a guide. Of
but
like,
is it too? The thing is it too far though? Because that would be talking about religion too.
I mean, I guess it's up to the person.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're like lacking like personal progress, like forward in life,
yeah,
that's
I
when
agree.
it can be an issue.
It could be a hindrance to your own growth, and it can be in your way without you knowing it. And that could be the whole premise, and that's why like your sense of belief on these things become important for how you shape your life, like those principles. Because if you follow those and you know it to be right, you don't necessarily need somebody to tell you that. You just know. Like, you don't just hit somebody and then they end up crying and you're like, I'm joyous. Unless your childhood was shown that. You've done this?
I'm joyous.
We've got this on camera. FBI, if you need to come in and swoop in, go ahead.
I feel like people have the power, but like we often give it like to our beliefs. Like for the people that believe in astrology, like the power is always within you. You're just putting the power into something that you believe in.
Yep, and it becomes the center focus of something. You talk about like the revolutions of like European times, whenever they're like, no, we need to have the science to deal with, and the whole Western revolution type movement. And I think we're kind of evolving back into that again, where everybody's coming back to a different sense of beliefs, because I think we're kind of splitting in a manner from one another in many ways. Like, of course, technology is doing that to us, but we're also the controller of that too, because we get to decide where the technology goes. Now, we is saying human in general, even though it might be a select few humans that are doing that, but there's still that sense of direction that it's being pointed, and you get to decide, well, do you believe in that thing or do you not? Like certain aspects of religion, like I follow their principles, but not in a manner of like I believe their principles in the way that is presented by them. It's more of like I just take that because I just know it to be true. Like being honest, like that's one that is just generic. You don't need to hear it from like a Bible or a verse or something like that. You don't need that necessarily, but some people do because they need that construction to be able to move forward with stuff. But I just think there's a lot of sense of principles from each religion and belief that actually have validity once it's like put to your own test. Just like food, you can't just eat something each time because somebody's like, oh yeah, the carnivore diet works for me, I'm just gonna eat meat. No, you have to test that theory. And if it's not going well, then yeah, you're probably going to change that way. But if you're never introduced to that, then you're always gonna have that sense of belief, because the belief is not hurting you necessarily until the point of where it's like, oh, I can't do that anymore. Like sitting in a white room, oh, I can't do that for 62 years, because you start to not understand time anymore. You start to dissolve into your own mind.
Dissociate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Do you know from experience?
Yeah. I was in the swirly pool when I was at 5 years old, and I got sucked in by the wave pool, and I was stuck in there for 25 years. I am 45.
How did you not drown?
Well, there was a friendly shark in there, the baby shark you might have heard of.
Baby shark. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, that was in there. So that's how I got revived. They also had quick revive on them, so it worked out.
You know how many times we'd have to quick revive you?
Yes, because I keep getting stuck in a blender.
They're like, man, our teammate sucks. We have to keep reviving him.
But he's cool.
Is he though?
He's very cool. But we're going to end it there. Hope y'all enjoyed the podcast as it is going into the new year. So happy New Year's to all of y'all. Please like, share, subscribe, send to your friends. We're going to definitely have more advertising, so you will probably see us more. We plan on doing skits coming up as well too. I just need to get props, because once I have props, I mean, we got this off the top of our heads. Like, we already know. So we'll have those out. And yeah, thank y'all for watching. Happy New Year's to y'all, and enjoy the rest of your holidays.
Happy New Year. Bye. Guys.
Right there by your side. Can gangsters cry? Sandy, I've